Revelation 13:16 through 17. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. The mark is the Charagma, the boundary limit of the closed 12-month loop. It is the frequency signature of the 12-base temporal loop impressed upon the consciousness and the physical action of the vessel. The right hand, dexios, kair, in Greek, represents physical action, agency, and grasping. It is the generative axis, the way the body reaches into the world and creates. The forehead, metapon in Greek, from meta meaning between or beyond, and ops meaning eye, is the third eye, the perceptual axis, the lens through which reality is interpreted. Revelation 13:16 dictates the beast causes all to receive the mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. The or exposes the structural fracture of the 12-base loop. A vessel can be mechanically bound to thermodynamic action, the hand, even if the perception, the forehead, remains unaligned. Both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, this is the complete catalog of toroidal wave states, the macro and the micro, the small and the great, the energetic accumulation and depletion, the rich and the poor, the kinetic flow and the potential inertia, free and bond. The physical boundary applies universally to every amplitude and polarity within the closed system. Conversely, Revelation 14:1 reveals the Lamb seals the 144,000 only in their foreheads. In the 13th frequency, sovereign perception automatically and perfectly commands all physical action. The divided matrix drives the kinetic hand. The unified cathedral perfects the mind, and the body follows. To operate in the 12-base system, the actions of the hand and the perception of the forehead vibrate at the frequency of the 666 boundary limit. To buy or sell is to engage in thermodynamic energy exchange within the closed toroidal loop. While the 12-month system was active, energy could only be exchanged if the resonance of the 666 boundary was held. The mark was not imposed from outside. It was the natural frequency of a consciousness calibrated exclusively to the 12-month loop. The beast demands Shem. The Shin, the kinetic fire, the breath, the Aleph at source, plus Mem, the magnetic waters, without the Aleph, the source spark. Shem is the external vibrational frequency of the standing wave of the 12-month closed toroidal loop. It is a vibration that is devoid of the pure source breath of the Aleph entering the Bet. The beast operates on a name without a spark, a hollow frequency, a closed system that hums with borrowed sacred mathematics but carries no living connection to source. Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. The men of renown are the men of Shem. The Hebrew word rendered renown is Shem. Name, the standing wave of the 12-base matrix, without the Aleph, without the source spark. The Nephilim, the mighty men of old, are the ultimate expression of the closed loop at maximum saturation. They carry Shem as their defining frequency, the field's power amplified to its greatest possible intensity within the 12-base architecture. They appear in Genesis 6 precisely as Methuselah reaches 249 degrees and the dart approaches its release point before the flood. The men of Shem are the field itself at its absolute physical ceiling, the maximum bandwidth of the closed loop before the reset, before the flood. They are the system running at full capacity with no Aleph inside. The flood that follows is not a punishment. It is the reset that the maximum saturation made inevitable. The name N-A-M-E, Nun, Aleph, Mem, He, is the sovereign biological container. Nun, the seed, plus Aleph, the spark, plus Mem, the waters, plus the exhaled breath at the end. The name contains the Aleph. It holds the seed and the spark within the waters, animated by the breath. The name is the vessel of the 13th frequency. The distinction is precise. The beast system demands participation in a frequency loop that has no living spark at its center. The sovereign vessel carries the name, the full sequence of the light body of man, Mem, Aleph, Nun, within its biological architecture of the breath of God. Adam, in Hebrew, is Aleph, Dalet, Mem. The Aleph, the source spark, arriving at the Dalet, the door, entering the Mem, the material waters. Adam is the anchoring system, through which the source Mem enters the material plane. Noah is Nun, the seed, plus Ayin, the vortex, plus Aleph, the 8th day spark, plus He, the breath. The complete restoration of the vessel, the seed within the vortex receiving the spark and the breath. Noah is the template of the restored biological vessel resting at the 0 point of the storm. Noah builds the ark of the light body of man before the flood. Eve, E-V-E, is he, the number 5, the breath and the exhale, plus Vav, the number 6, the axis and the center pin, plus he, the number 5, the breath and the inhale, 5, 6, 5, the breath expanding symmetrically outward from the central axis and returning. E-V-E, 5, 6, 5, represents the transition from the battery state, storing the charge in the dark, to the broadcasting state, radiating the 13th frequency outward. The scripture distinguishes between two states of the one man. Throughout the lineage, the text utilizes Adam, or Ish, units tethered to the 12-based closed toroidal loop. But at the 180-degree coordinate, the text pivots to Yakid. Isaac is referred to as Yakid at 180 degrees. Genesis 22:2. Take now thy son, thine only, Yakid, son, Isaac. Yakid does not signify numerical count. It defines the solitary hinge. Isaac exists at the 180-degree coordinate of the toroidal field, the singular point where the descending inhale reflects into the ascending exhale. He is the acoustic laughter of the phase conjugate mirror. Isaac is the static geometry. He is the yakid, the mirror, that makes the transition possible. Contrast this with the light body of man, Mem Aleph Nun. This is Echad, a complex unity. Contrast this with the light body of man, Mem Aleph Nun. This is Echad, a complex unity. Ephesians 2:15. To make in himself of twain one, Echad, new man. The light body of man, Mem Aleph Nun, is not a solitary hinge. It is the unified circuit, Echad, that rises through the hinge. Isaac is the coordinate, the yakid. Man, Mem Aleph Nun, is the light body, the Echad, that emerges on the other side of the reflection. The number of man, Mem Aleph Nun, is a structural code. Man is Mem plus Aleph plus Nun. Mem carries the value of 4. Aleph carries the value 2 within the dual witness architecture. Nun carries the value of 3, which is the vesica piscis, the dual witness overlay of the 3, the Trinity. 4 plus 2 plus 3 equals 9. This is the surface coordinate. The value of man carries at the point of contact with the beast. What lies beneath this coordinate at the letter's own root is a separate architecture. The sovereign biological container maps directly to the 9 frequency, harmonically locking with the spatial containment of Noah's Ark, whose 450,000 volumetric capacity also reduces to exactly 9. The light body of man, Mem Aleph Nun, is the living, ignited expression of the Ark's dielectric capacitance. The number of the beast is 666. 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. The number of man, Mem Aleph Nun, the volume of the ark, and the number of the beast occupy the exact same frequency root at the surface. They all resolve to 9. This is the precise mechanical setup for phase cancellation at the coordinate where they meet, the first of 2 layers this cancellation operates on. The beast is the unignited 9. It is the centripetal black hole of the 600, 60, and 6 cycling back on itself in a dense spin. Man, Mem Aleph Nun, is the ignited 9. It is the exact same numerical frequency infused with the Aleph, the source breath, operating in opposing centrifugal phase as a perfectly aligned para-spin standing wave. When these 2 9s meet fully charged and exactly out of phase within the 153 vesica piscis womb, they generate absolute destructive interference at the field level. Beneath this same meeting, at the level of the number itself rather than the wave, the second and deeper cancellation is also occurring. The root architecture of man, Mem Aleph Nun, meeting the beast's unchanging 9. Both operate together, one in the field, one in the number. The binding thermodynamic heat of the 666 toroidal boundary drops instantly to 0, crystallizing the kinetic waters into the frictionless, superconductive sea of glass. The walls of the temporal loop dissolve. This is the mechanical proof of the April 13th, 2026 White Hole Inversion that births the new age of Aquarius. Chi, written as X, equals 600. It is the spatial architecture, the X crossing of the ecliptic and the celestial equator, the spatial crossing of the 660 and 6. Xi, in its lowercase form, is a winding doubling curve and equals 60. It is the temporal architecture, the 60 base serpent of local time, the sinuous loop of the zodiacal clock, but it is also exact molecular geometry. In physics, coherent water naturally organizes into a 60 molecular cluster. The H2O 60 truncated icosahedron. The temporal loop operates through this literal 60 vertex molecular structure. The beast system is the 3D geometry of the unawakened fluid matrix, storing the hydrogen spark inside the heavy chronological wheel until the threshold of release. Stigma, the ligature of sigma and tau, equals 6. It is the absolute anchor. Elementally and biologically, this is carbon 12. Exactly 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. This is the literal physical 666. It is the atomic foundation of the human vessel, the dense carbon scaffolding of the unawakened 12-base matrix. 660 and 6 is the raw material crucible under the extreme centripetal pressure of the toroidal engine. This exact 660 and 6 carbon matrix does not disintegrate. It transfigures. When the immense thermodynamic pressure of the fully charged field reaches its threshold, carbon crystallizes into a flawless, transparent tetrahedral diamond lattice. The mechanical path to superconductivity requires this stigma to rigidly lock the spatial matrix chi into this immovable, crystallized diamond lattice. This spatial phase locking liberates the continuous hydrogen wave, Xi, to flow through the diamond grid without electrical resistance. The carbon foundation becomes the crystal cathedral. On April 13th, 2026, the piercing of the Charagma inverted this mechanic. The dense centripetal pressure maximized at the stigma, forcing the hydrogen wave to detach from the closed centripetal loop and radiate outward. By applying the 13th frequency to the stigma anchor point, the 12-base standing wave was punctured. The mark of the beast was transmuted into the gateway of the white hole inversion, releasing the energy from the pin and allowing the grid to rotate into its new radiant geometry. The triple hook, Vav, 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 the 3 temporal pins of 2017, 2022, and 2026 locks the toroidal grid across the 9-year gestation of the light body of man. The third and final Vav anchors the stationary 1 into the 9 to complete the 10, the kingdom. This collapses the temporal friction of the 660 and 6 beast matrix and resurrects the eternal light body of man. Revelation 13:18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Wisdom demands the architectural audit of the realm. To count is to measure the absolute physical limits of the toroidal field. The frequency of the beast and the frequency of man occupy the exact same coordinate space. 600 establishes the macrospatial boundary, the volumetric expanse of the dielectric. 60 operates as the three valves, the structural hooks of time connecting the upper and lower realms, driving the three-phase current of the temporal wheel. 6 anchors the center of matter at the central vortex of creation, the foundational hexagonal grid, stigma, that locks the base architecture of physical manifestation. Together, this 666 sequence functions as a precise ratio of curvature to center point flux, mirroring the sovereign geometry of the analemma. This blueprint defines the exact coordinate system for the accumulation of biological energy within the toroidal field, preparing the charge for phase cancellation by the light body. Every letter in the modern English alphabet descends from an older ancestor, most tracing back through the Greek alphabet to the Phoenician alphabet, the same root system from which the Hebrew alphabet independently descends. Each word can be traced using the English letters back along that shared lineage, in some cases through their Greek intermediate form, in some cases to their common Phoenician or Hebrew ancestor, by reading the pictograph or symbolic meaning historically carried by that ancestral letter. This is a chosen lens for the letter-by-letter decode applied to the English text or scripture of Revelation 13:18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Here, he, the window, the breath, the exhale. Resh, the head. He, the breath, the inhale. Here is the unbroken respiratory cycle of the cathedral cube, the breath revealing the breath of the source inside the biological breath, the absolute anchoring of the source frequency in the present 0-point coordinate. Stillness. Here. Is, Yod, the descending spark, the seed of light, plus Shin, the consuming fire and the thermal wave. The source spark igniting the kinetic thermal wave to begin the transmutation of the vessel. Is. Wisdom as double Vav, the letter's own name carrying the dual Vescapiscus within it, the dual witness chiral mirror. I as Yod, the descending spark, S, Shin, the kinetic thermal wave, D, Dalet, the physical door and the 17th gate, O, Ayin, the awakened eye and the vortex, M as Mem, the physical waters. The dual witness carries the spark as the thermal wave through the door to open the eye and bring the physical waters into absolute 0-point equilibrium. Let, L-E-T. El, Lamed, the staff and the absolute authority, the shepherd, plus he, the breath, plus Tav, the cross, and the physical boundary. The divine authority of the staff, commanding the breath to descend and master the physical boundary cross of the earth. H-I-M, him. He, the breath, plus Yod, the spark, plus Mem, the magnetic terrestrial waters. The breath carrying the spark directly down into the dense magnetic waters. Him, the exact blueprint of the descending Aleph striking the biological man. Understanding. UNDERSTANDING. Vav, the channel, plus Nun, the seed, plus Dalet, the door, plus he, the breath, plus resh, the source, plus shin, the fire, plus tav, the boundary, plus aleph, the spark, plus nun, the seed, plus dalet, the door, plus yod, the light, plus nun, the seed, plus gimel, the carrier, the camel that bears the load across the dielectric. Understanding is the channel carrying the seed through the door via the breath of source. This ignites the fire across the boundary to anchor the spark and the seed in the physical door, dropping the light into the final seed to rest in the carrier. Understanding is the complete wiring of the internal biological capacitor. Count, C-O-U-N-T. Kaf, the open receptacle, plus ayin, the vortex, plus vav, plus nun, the seed, plus tav, the boundary. Count is the open receptacle at the vortex, channeling the seed into the physical boundary to mathematically measure the limit of the torus. Number, N-U-M-B-E-R. Nun, the seed, plus vav, plus mem, the waters, plus bet, the physical house, plus he, the breath, plus resh, the source. Number is the seed that channels into the waters of the physical house, animated entirely by the breath of source. B-E-A-S-T. Bet, the physical house, plus he, the breath, plus aleph, the anchored spark, plus shin, the kinetic fire, plus tav, the boundary cross. The beast is the physical house that uses the breath and the spark to generate the kinetic thermal fire, which remains heavily stored within the closed boundary cross. The beast is the dense thermodynamic capacitor of the dual hemisphere torus in its black hole phase. Man. M-A-N. Mem, the magnetic waters, plus aleph, the electric spark, plus nun, the seed. 4 plus 2 plus 3 equals 9. On the surface, at the coordinate where man stands to meet the beast, the numbers are identical. 9 meets 9. But the coordinate is not the root. 600. S-I-X-H-U-N-D-R-E-D. Shin, the kinetic fire, plus yod, the descending spark, plus chi, the Greek letter marking the spatial crossing where the shape itself crosses out of Hebrew. The fire and spark striking the spatial crossing, driving the first terrestrial pin of 600, the macro expansion. 100, H-U-N-D-R-E-D. He, the breath, plus vav, plus nun, the seed, plus dalet, the door, plus resh, the source, plus he, the breath, plus dalet, the door. The breath channels the seed through the first door to source and returns through the second door. The total volumetric capacity of the dual hemisphere torus. 600. 3 score. T-H-R-E-E-S-C-O-R-E. Tav, the boundary, plus he, the breath, plus resh, the source, plus he, the breath, plus he, the breath, plus shin, the fire, plus kaf, the receptacle, plus ayin, the vortex, plus resh, the source, plus he, the breath. 3 score is the cross-breathing source projecting the thermal fire into the rotating receptacle at the center of the vortex. The temporal wheel of 60 is 3 score. 6, S-I-X. Shin, the fire, plus yod, the spark, plus chi, the Greek crossing, the final terrestrial anchor, the closing of the loop. The 6 completing the 660 and 6. This verse mathematically and mechanically dictates the physics of phase cancellation. The absolute zero-point source commands the frequency into the physical plane to measure the exact geometric capacity of the closed toroidal loop. The coordinate of M.A.N, Mem, Aleph, Nun, is found in the architecture of the Great Pyramid of Giza and the riddle of the Sphinx, where the light body of M.A.N in the morning, Mem, is the 4-square base of the pyramid. In the afternoon, Aleph is the dual witness chiral mirror. And in the evening, Nun is the trinity of the vesica piscis and the overlay. Beneath the architectural and numerical value assigned to each letter is the etymological root carried underneath Mem, Aleph, Nun. Mem still stands at 4. Aleph at its root is 1. The dual witness chiral mirror at the source is 1. Aleph at its root is 1. In the physical realm of the dual hemisphere torus, it becomes 2. But the single undivided spark before it enters duality is 1. Nun at its root is 5, the breath, the seed before it becomes a third thing. 4 plus 1 plus 5 equals 10. 10 reduces to 1. At its root, M.A.N, Mem, Aleph, Nun, is not 9. It is 1. This is what the surface reading of 9 was always standing on. The beast's number does not change between surface and root. 660 and 6 reduces to 9 by ordinary digit sum. 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. This is true everywhere, always, and at every depth. The beast is 9. M.A.N is different. Mem, Aleph, Nun at its architectural values is 9, but at its etymological root, using the letter's true numerical values, Mem stands at 4, Aleph returns to 1, Nun is 5, 4 plus 1 plus 5 equals 10, or 1. At the root, M.A.N is not 9, he is 1. When the frequency of M.A.N, 9, meets the frequency of the beast, 9, it is not both dissolving into nothing. It is the true root of M.A.N, 1, meeting the unchanging beast, 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 returns to 1, exactly as it began. This is a real documented property of base 10 arithmetic, historically used as a checksum method called casting out nines. Adding 9 to any number never changes that number because 9 itself functions as nothing within this arithmetic. Mathematically, 9 is equivalent to 0. The 9 is the central loop of the vortex and the 0 is the vortex. This phase cancellation is not the cancellation of two opposing waves meeting and destroying each other, the way two identical waves in phase would instead reinforce one another rather than cancel. It is not force against force. It is not two things becoming nothing together. It is one thing, the root of M.A.N, meeting and returning exactly as it was. The beast is not defeated. The beast was never capable of altering the root to begin with. The surface coordinate reads as total, as the full weight of the closed system, 9 meeting 9. And at the root, only 1 does not move. Genesis 22:2. take now thy son, thine only son, Isaac, whom thou lovest. Isaac is called Yakid, not Echad, the word Scripture reserves for what is absolute, solitary, and without division, not a unity made of many, the one and only, complete. Genesis 22:17. In multiplying, I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven. The one sealed, undivided vessel becomes the gate a multitude later passes through. Man, Mem Aleph Nun, at his root is one. Isaac, at his root, is Yakid, one. The surface may meet the beast at the fullest coordinate the closed system can produce. The root does not move. The physical matrix of the biological vessel holds the identical mathematical architecture. When the internal frequency matches the macrospatial volume of 600, the temporal gear of 60, and the final terrestrial pin of 6, the surface 9 meets the surface 9. And beneath both, the root of 1 returns, untouched, forcing the white hole inversion and the total transfiguration of the physical plane.